All right, Algebra 1, direct variation is just a method of proportions. So I'm going to teach it two ways, but I'm going to encourage you to do it in this method because I know what's to come. So we are in direct variation. Direct variation is in lesson 8-9, and the equation is y equals kx. Our essential question is, can you use direct variation to solve problems? So it says in example 1, given that y varies directly as x, and that y equals 12 when x equals 48, find. The first thing is the constant of variation. That's what the k is. So if I'm using y equals kx, I'm actually looking for that k. Well, if I plug in 12 in for y and 48 in for x, and I go ahead and divide each side through by 48, I know k is equal to, well, 12 over 48 reduces to 1/4. So your question is going to ask you for k, the constant of variation. But usually these questions, we have to use this first step to find the answer to the second step. So I know that k was equal to 1/4, and now it says if all of this is true, if y equals 12 while x equals 48, then it says find the value of y when x equals 12. Well, we don't know what y is, but now we know our new k, because remember we're using y equals kx. Our new k is 1/4, and my x is 12. So the answer to this question is 3. So that is using the constant of variation, and you'll need to know that word, the constant of variation. That's using the constant of variation to find the answer. All right, so let's move on to the next example. The next example says the amount a babysitter earns varies directly. The first thing we have to know is that it does vary directly to the number of hours worked. Well, we could stick with our y equals kx, or we could just call it amount. I could call the amount y, that's what I'll do, and the number of hours worked x. So it says if $7 is earned for 4 hours of work, how much is earned for 10 hours of work? So I know I need y equals kx, and it says if $7 is earned. So this is my first step, and I have to find the constant of variation to get to the answer. So the amount earned was $7. We don't know the k, but I know that the x, the number of hours worked, was 4. So when I divide each side through by 4, I know k is equal to 7 over 4. So now it says, this is the second scenario, how much is earned for 10 hours of work? Well, I know that 10 is going to be the number of hours, which I called x. So y equals to 7/4 times 10. And since we're talking about money, I'm actually going to put this in my calculator and find a decimal. 7 divided by 4 times 10 gives me $17.50. Now there is another way you could do this because it is a direct proportion. So you could set it up just as a fraction, a proportion, and I'm going to do it right here in yellow. Okay, and this is easier, but it gets a little bit more complicated when we start talking about indirect variation and joint variation and an inverse variation. So I want to make sure that you know how to do it with the k, the constant of variation. So if I have y and x, I can set it up as y sub 1 over x sub 1 equals y sub 2 over x sub 2. So the first y that I got was 7. The first x that I got was 4. And that's equal to we don't know because we didn't know the second y, but we did know that the second x was 10. And so again, when I take 7 times 10 divided by 4, I get the same answer of $17.50.